Corey Harris joined a virtual court hearing after getting in trouble for driving with a suspended license. He decided it was a good idea to Zoom into court while driving. So Judge J. Cedric, like, how did you not think about this before you made this stupid decision?
The charge was driving without a license. It's not like it was an unrelated charge. That is unbelievable.
A few moments later.
Corey Harris, who went viral last week due to a video that showed him driving while attending a court hearing for driving with a suspended license, was actually the victim of a clerical error and also misreported news. And so we have to correct our own coverage of this because there was some context that was totally missing from the reporting. Now, he actually did not have a suspended license. And the reason why it appeared he had a suspended license was due to a clerical error.
A few moments later.
There is yet another twist in the case of a man who made a virtual court appearance while driving on what the judge said was a suspended license.
He has never had a Michigan license, ever. And has never had a license in the other 49 states and commonwealths that form up this great union. He has never had a license.
Okay, first, do you guys remember this from a couple of days ago?
Court calls case People versus Corey Harris. You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. And he didn't have a license.
So if you don't remember, the judge then told him to go directly to jail and turn himself in because he's driving without a license right there on camera.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
Now, as you all know, that story went viral. I'm talking about everyone was covering it.
Well, talk about being caught in the act. A Michigan man with a suspended driver's license joins his court Zoom call while driving.
He zoomed into the court hearing, but the man charged with driving with a suspended license was driving a car while zooming in to the court.
Michigan man finding himself in even bigger trouble this morning.
He was recently arrested after attending a Zoom hearing for driving with a suspended license while driving his car.
Zoom hearings have become a regular thing for court appearances, but here's a pro tip. Try not to do anything incriminating while you're there, like if you're making an appearance for a suspended license, I don't know. Maybe don't show up behind the wheel.
Now, even Charlemagne from The Breakfast Club gave him the donkey of the day.
This man was on a video conference for driving on a suspended license while he was driving. Now, it's obvious why Corey's getting donkey of the day, right? Corey, we can see you, my brother. I need to know the thought process, like you woke up, said your prayers, brushed your teeth, did your daily affirmations. I don't know what your morning routine is, but at some point you made a choice. You made a conscious decision to say, I got to go to the doctor, and I don't got nobody to drive me, but I also don't have a license, and I also have to go to court via video conference because I don't have a license and because I was driving without one. So at some point, your brain told you, that's perfectly okay. This is fine. I'm going to just jump on the video conference while I'm driving, even though I'm in virtual court for driving with a suspended license. Well, Corey, if you don't give a damn, we don't give a fornication under the consent of the king either. Okay, the other part of Corey's situation that bothers me is that man wasn't quick on his feet at all. Soon as the judge would have said to me, are you driving? I would have said, no, sir, this is a Tesla. Okay, I would have threw my hands up and said, this is a self-driving car. Look, judge, no hand.
Now, this story gets even more and more insane. We've just scratched the surface. So after that video went viral, then some more news hit. Allegedly, his license wasn't even suspended. This was some clerical error from 2 years ago, and his license had been reinstated. So now everyone who made fun of him had to come out and say they were sorry.
In today's handoff to Erica and Joe, an important follow-up to a handoff from last week that you had to see to believe.
No doubt you remember the Michigan man who went very viral for joining a virtual court hearing for a suspended license while he was driving.
Right.
When I heard this, my jaw dropped. It turns out he's been vindicated. Corey Harris was behind the wheel as he called into a virtual hearing for a traffic stop last month. The judge noticed that Harris's records showed that he had a suspended license, so upon seeing that he was behind the wheel, he immediately revoked his bond and ordered Harris to report to jail. The problem is, his license should not have been suspended. He had had it reinstated 2 years earlier, and it only showed up in court records as suspended due to some kind of clerical error.
The situation I covered a couple days ago with the individual who was driving with a suspended license on a Zoom court hearing about his suspended license actually has some huge twists and turns here that not even the Game of Thrones showrunners could have figured out to subvert our expectations. The whole galaxy, but especially the Michigan Secretary of State's office, owe this man a huge, sincere apology. But apparently the soulless husks at the Michigan Secretary of State's office never received the clearance from the Saginaw Friend of the Court. I hate that title, by the way, Friend of the Court. That shit sounds so childish. Makes me feel like I'm reading a Dr. Seuss book. Yes, this is the Michigan Secretary of State's office requesting thumbs up from the Blorbus County Super Buddies. Looking for big pats on the head, please, nuzzles you. I don't know, I hate that. Just Friend of the Court sounds so stupid for like an actual legal thing. So because the Michigan Secretary of State's office never got that clearance, the lifting of the suspension never went into effect, so the judge was working off the paperwork that was incorrect, stating that his license was still suspended when, in reality, it was not. They tracked down the clerical error and it has been rectified. However, Harris did spend 2 days in jail, and he made this statement saying, "With the type of ties that I have with the church and the community, it's very embarrassing." Which I completely understand, and this whole thing is turbo dog shit. It's more than just like blushing of the cheeks, like embarrassing, you know, it's not like his voice cracked while asking someone on a date or something. Like, this is pretty serious.
But it turns out he didn't have a suspended license. As Reason points out, it turns out that all these stories were based on a falsehood. Harris's license had been reinstated years prior and was only registering as suspended due to a clerical error. USA Today went even deeper in their correction, saying that Harris's license had been suspended during a now settled child support case before it was ordered reinstated. Court records show the reason Simpson and no one in the courtroom knew about the reinstatement is because the Michigan Secretary of State's office never received a clearance from the Saginaw County Friend of the Court, which was supposed to make that change and make it clear in the records that his license is no longer suspended. And so without that clearance, the lift on Harris's license never officially went into effect. So the story and our correction actually ends up getting a little bit worse when you find out why he was driving at that time.
Now, even Charlemagne the God had to rescind his donkey of the day because they had this new information.
I've told y'all on this radio before, there are certain jobs you can't afford to make mistakes in, okay? Doctors, surgeons, police officers, and now we gotta add the clerical people who work in the courts to the list because this man Corey had to report to jail, embarrassed all over the internet. He's a meme now. I said that man looked like Beetlejuice's brother. I even gave the judge donkey of the day last week for not having sympathy towards Corey because he said he was going to the doctor. I diagnosed him with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and maybe even a little diabetes because he looked a little swollen in the cheeks. Come to find out, he wasn't going to the doctor for himself. He was taking his wife. Corey, I apologize for naming you donkey of the day. I got to take that hee-haw back. Give him that hee-haw in reverse one time, Red. That's right.
That was creative.
This is what I don't understand. How come the public defender wasn't aware that Corey's license wasn't really suspended? The public defender should have been doing some type of research on the case. This is why public defenders get a bad rap. The judge don't have this kind of information. That's what lawyers and public defenders are supposed to do.
So now you may be saying, Nate, where's your apology? You covered that story and you said this guy was a clown too. Well, we now have new information. I'm talking about this story has more twists and turns than a Twizzler. Now, I'm going to stop here real quick because let's say you're injured because of someone else's negligence. Things like car accidents, truck accidents, defective products, or defective drugs. Give me a call at 571-NATE-LAW. That's 571-NATE-LAW. Or you can also click on the link in the description. Now, we can represent you or we can help you find the right attorney. Now, it's incredibly important to speak to an attorney right away to protect your rights. Now, you can call the number that you see on the screen or click the link below to get a free case review and free consultation. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not apologizing because new information has shown that Corey never had a license at all in his life. Matter of fact, the news organizations asked Corey, well, since your license wasn't suspended, have you ever had a license? And listen to what he says.
He has never had a Michigan license. Ever.
We asked Harris yesterday if he ever had a valid driver's license. He claimed he didn't remember.
Do you ever recall having one? Having a driver's license?
I knew I had a permit. I knew that.
A driver's permit, or?
I believe. I don't know. I can't say yes and I can't say no.
And that's odd because the Pittsfield Township police officer and prosecutor said during that October traffic stop, Corey Harris knew what was up.
At least twice during this traffic stop, he acknowledged to the officer that he did not have a valid license.
Now, this man has never, ever had a license. So the judge had to bring him back in and tell him what the deal is.
So I will try to get through this as quick as I possibly can. But I will tell you, first of all, with any reference to your client having had a license on that day, and some indication or misunderstanding as to whether or not he had a license, let me make it very clear, based upon what the court looked at, he has never had a Michigan license, ever, and has never had a license in the other 49 states and commonwealths that form up this great union. He has never had a license. In point of fact, when they suspended his license, and what people don't understand, when they suspended his license in Saginaw, they don't suspend the license. They suspend the privilege to drive in this state. Hence, for example, if he had had a Kentucky license, he would be able to drive everywhere that Kentucky would allow him to drive. He just couldn't drive in Michigan because his privileges had been restricted. I know you know that, but that wasn't at all said. But it doesn't matter because he didn't have a license, ever. There is also then, and I will, when it is necessary, come to the defense of my sister courts, and I will come to the defense of Saginaw. They got a great chief judge. Chief judge answered the question. But I will tell you, that court and its friend of the court did nothing wrong. His license was, his driving privileges, better stated, were unsuspended in 2022. That required Mr. Harris to do something. He didn't do it. Therefore, that friend of the court was under no obligation to send anything to the Secretary of State. Now, I hated that I had to look at all of this, but when there's a question as to what I did, I'm going to look at everything to make sure that what I did was all in order. There's then an indication from that because that wasn't sent, there was a direct attack on Michigan's Department of Secretary of State's office, saying that the Secretary of State was somehow at fault.
The whole galaxy, but especially the Michigan Secretary of State's office, owe this man a huge, sincere apology.
Let me tell you something. Secretary of State did what they were supposed to do. And in point of fact, they did nothing because they hadn't gotten anything from the court because Mr. Harris had not paid the reinstatement. This week, or the latter part of last week, once he paid that, Saginaw friend of the court did what they should do, and they sent it. Immediately, based upon the information that I have, the Secretary of State did what they do every day. They took that suspension off of his driving record, and he was then unsuspended. And then your client did what he needed to do with reference to the Secretary of State and paid a reinstatement. Just a second, Mr. Schiller. I'm going to let everybody respond because I am not done yet. Here's the part that was disturbing for me, so that you know.
Okay.
Mr. Harris indicated that at some point he had been involved in some accident. Then being involved into the accident, that he was basically bedridden or at least housebound, he could not get to the Secretary of State. that was set up there. And I'm going to presume, because my knowledge of counsel, defense counsel is, I know you don't misrepresent anything.
Right.
You never do.
Right.
That's not true.
Okay.
He purposely stated that he could not get to the Secretary of State, which, for the way we handle things in this court, would have placed him in a whole different category. We would have tried to find a way. Let's figure it out. And the reason I know that is because Mr. Harris, on December 28th of 2023, do you know where you were?
December 23rd.
23rd.
2023.
I know I was laid up from my accident.
You were at the Secretary of State's office. And you were at the Secretary of State's office because you redid and got your new Michigan ID. I have the date. That's the date you did it. December 28th, 2023. You did. And so that you also know, and in all fairness to counsel, because I don't know if counsel knows this or not, the way I know that he's never had a license is because May 3rd, 1990, he was 19 at the time. May 3rd, 1999, he applied for his first Michigan ID. Counsel knows, so I do. You cannot have both. You either have an ID or you have a license. One of the two. He has religiously every year gotten a new ID. And so he knows that he doesn't have a license. And quite frankly, I just wish he would have said that at the beginning. And all of this hoopla could have been just put all aside. And we all go through the process as we do with all of the people coming here to try to get him his license back.
So just so everyone is clear about what happened, this man had never had a license anywhere. Any state, any Commonwealth, he's never had a license. So when he was pulled over for driving without a license, they suspended his driving privileges, just in case he may have had some license somewhere else, which he didn't, but he could not drive in the state of Michigan. His driving privileges were suspended. They couldn't suspend his license because he never had a license. So even though they reinstated his driving privileges, he still couldn't drive because he didn't have a license. He never had a license. So at the end of the day, you had a man show up to court driving without a license, getting busted by the judge sends him to jail. Then he goes online and says, oh, they was wrong. My license was cleared up. Forgetting to tell everybody that, hey, I never actually had a license to begin with. Now goes back to court and the judge is like, why are you telling everybody you were able to drive when you obviously weren't able to drive and you know it? So at the end of all this, the judge was like, hey, you actually have a warrant for your arrest, and put him back in jail because of the warrant. Check it out.
Then came the unexpected.
He has a warrant for his arrest.
Corey Harris was taken into custody for what appears to be a 9-year-old bench warrant out of Allen Park.
So was I shocked? Absolutely. Did I want my client to walk in, then get escorted to the back? Absolutely not.
So at the end of the day, people made fun of him. Then everybody comes out with these apologies. The court is wrong. And now everybody's got to come out with another apology saying that, no, the court was right. And this guy was actually the one wrong. He was driving without a license.
Well, Sexy Red, Donkey of the Day for Thursday, June 6th goes to Corey Harris. Before I give Corey Harris the final boss credit he deserves for being stupid, I must take back hee-haws I gave to the Honorable Judge Cedric Simpson. Take it back, Eddie. I gotta take back the one I gave to the Saginaw friend of the court and the Secretary of State of Michigan. Take it back for them too, please. basically everyone that Corey Harris lied on in regards to his case of driving under a suspended license, okay? I can't believe we are here again. I gave Corey Harris and the judge donkey, then I took back Corey's donkey and gave the judge hee-haw again and added the Saginaw friend of the court, all because Corey lied.
So tell me where I'm wrong about this story. This man went from driving without a license to him being vindicated to now he's back in jail on warrants. Now don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.